Once known as the Snake Village, Zisiqiao, nestled in the verdant landscapes of eastern China, was a hub of ceaseless activity and the clamor of commerce, primarily driven by its unique industry snake farming. Streets that were once lined with bustling markets, filled with the sounds of bargaining and the peculiar scent of snake products, now lay deserted, the silence a stark testament to the village's sudden decline. The COVID-19 pandemic, which swept across the world, brought unforeseen consequences to this small enclave known for its unusual farming practices. Zisiqiao's story is not just a narrative about economic decline, but a stark illustration of the delicate balance between human activity and wildlife, and the repercussions when that balance is disturbed. Located in the province of Zhejiang, Zisiqiao gained fame and the nickname Snake Village due to its predominant industry. Historically, nearly every household in this village was involved in some aspect of snake farming, from breeding to selling. The village supplied millions of snakes per year to markets, pharmaceutical companies, and restaurants across China and beyond, branding itself as an indispensable node in the global supply chain of snake products. The origins of snake farming in Zisiqiao are rooted in traditional Chinese medicine, which uses various parts of the snake for healing purposes. Over decades, what might have started as a small-scale traditional practice burgeoned into an industrial-scale operation. However, the specialization in this single industry also meant that the village's fortunes were tightly entwined with the global demand for snakes. The significance of snake farming in Zisiqiao transcended economic aspects, embedding itself deeply within the cultural fabric of the community. Snake farming, as the principal economic activity in Zisiqiao, was not merely a business, but a way of life. The farms were sophisticated operations, utilizing both traditional knowledge handed down through generations and modern techniques to optimize the breeding, feeding, and harvesting of snakes. The economic impact of snake farming on Zisiqiao was profound. It provided employment for the majority of the village's population, from young adults who took care of the snake pens to the elderly, who were involved in the more traditional aspects like preparing snake-based medicinal products. The prosperity that flowed from this industry enabled the construction of schools, healthcare facilities, and improved housing, fundamentally transforming the quality of life in the village. However, this economic dependency also had its drawbacks. The village's economy was highly sensitive to fluctuations in the market. This made Zisiqiao's economy particularly vulnerable to external shocks, a vulnerability that was starkly revealed with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic. The cataclysmic effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on Zisiqiao began in early 2020, when reports of a novel coronavirus potentially linked to wildlife markets in Wuhan captured global headlines. As the virus spread rapidly across continents, the spotlight turned unforgivingly on wildlife consumption practices, particularly those involving exotic animals like snakes, which were suspected to be potential vectors of zoonotic diseases. The immediate repercussions for Zisiqiao were severe. International and domestic demand for snakes plummeted as consumers recoiled at the thought of virus transmission through wildlife. Regulatory bodies and health organizations began advocating for stringent controls on wildlife trade, impacting legal markets and inducing a steep decline in sales. Faced with growing public health concerns and regulatory changes, many snake farms ceased operations, while others dramatically scaled down. The pandemic not only disrupted the supply chain but also instilled a pervasive fear and uncertainty among the villagers, whose livelihoods were inextricably linked to snake farming. The streets of Zisiqiao, once teeming with traders, tourists, and townsfolk engaged in the daily rhythm of commerce, became ghostly quiet. Storefronts that sold snake-based delicacies, medicinal products, and souvenirs shuttered, some temporarily, others permanently. The economic shockwave was palpable, with ripple effects touching every corner of village life. The immediate financial strain was evident in the closure of businesses and the sudden spike in unemployment. Families found themselves grappling with a lack of income and an uncertain future, exacerbating the economic divide between those who could potentially pivot to other forms of employment and those who could not. The communal lifestyle, characterized by shared work and communal celebrations, was disrupted. The pandemic restrictions that enforce social distancing further eroded the fabric of community life, leading to isolation and a loss of the communal spirit that had defined the village for generations. The abrupt end to snake farming left many feeling unmoored, questioning their place in the world and their future prospects. In the wake of the pandemic, the residents of Zisiqiao faced a critical juncture: to cling to the remnants of snake farming, or to pivot towards new, more sustainable forms of livelihood. A significant number of villagers have begun exploring alternative agricultural practices, such as growing traditional Chinese medicinal herbs, which require similar skills but pose less risk of zoonotic diseases. The villagers are leveraging their extensive knowledge of traditional medicine, previously applied to snake products, to cultivate medicinal plants. This not only aligns with global trends towards more sustainable practices, but also taps into the growing market for herbal medicine, buoyed by a renewed focus on health and wellness post-pandemic. By promoting eco-friendly tours and cultural experiences, they hope to attract a new type of visitor, interested in sustainability and cultural preservation. These bodies are providing training, funding, and support to help the village transition to these new industries, ensuring that the shift is both economically viable and environmentally sustainable. Yang Heyong's story is emblematic of the profound shifts occurring in Zisiqiao. Once a successful snake farmer, Yang watched helplessly as his livelihood disappeared almost overnight. The initial despair was overwhelming, but it soon gave way to a determination to adapt and survive. Yang is now a leading figure in the village's shift towards medicinal herb farming, applying his intimate knowledge of Chinese botanicals to a new, burgeoning market. Yang's transformation from snake farmer to herbalist is not just a personal success story. It reflects a larger trend among the villagers of Zisiqiao. Many, like Yang, have chosen to view the end of snake farming not as an insurmountable setback, but as an opportunity to redirect their skills and resources towards more sustainable and globally accepted practices. Community meetings, once used to discuss the nuances of snake farming, are now forums for sharing knowledge about herbal cultivation and ecotourism, illustrating a communal effort to redefine the village's identity and economic foundations. The new industries are fostering a sense of community and cooperation that had been eroding under the strain of the pandemic. The link between wildlife consumption and zoonotic diseases has been a subject of scientific study for decades, but the COVID-19 pandemic brought this issue into sharp relief. Zoonotic diseases are those that can be transmitted from animals to humans, often through direct contact or the consumption of animal products. The practice of snake farming in Zisiqiao, while culturally and economically significant, posed such risks, highlighting the need for a better understanding and management of these diseases. Scientists emphasize that the interface between wild animals, humans, and domestic animals creates opportunities for pathogens to cross species barriers. This is particularly concerning in places like Zisiqiao, where high-density farming practices and close human-animal interactions are common. The COVID-19 pandemic is a stark reminder of how rapidly a zoonotic disease can spread globally, underscoring the importance of surveillance and strict health protocols in wildlife farming. Scientists and policymakers are advocating for initiatives that help communities like Zisiqiao transition to safer, more sustainable economic activities, ensuring that public health priorities do not lead to economic and social collapse. The fall of Zisiqiao has intensified the global debate on wildlife consumption. While some view the consumption of exotic animals as a cultural tradition that should be respected, others argue that the public health risks associated with zoonotic diseases necessitate a re-evaluation of such practices. The COVID-19 pandemic has added urgency to this debate, with calls for an international consensus on wildlife trade and consumption growing louder. Critics of wildlife consumption cite the potential for disease transmission as a primary concern, pointing to numerous outbreaks in the past that have been linked to the practice. They argue that global health security depends on stringent controls, and in some cases complete bans on certain types of wildlife trade. This perspective has gained traction among international health organizations and environmental groups who are pushing for global policies to mitigate the risks. On the other hand, proponents of sustainable use argue that with proper regulation and management, wildlife resources can be used responsibly without endangering public health. The outcome of this debate will have profound implications for villages like Zisiqiao worldwide. The story of Zisiqiao offers both lessons and warnings for the global community. It serves as a cautionary tale about the risks associated with over-reliance on a single industry, especially one as volatile and controversial as wildlife farming. It also highlights the resilience and adaptability of communities in the face of economic and health crises, demonstrating the potential for transformation towards sustainability. One key lesson is the importance of diversification. Zisiqiao's economic downfall underscores the risks of economic monocultures, where communities depend heavily on one industry. Diversifying economic activities not only provides a buffer against global market shifts but also enhances community resilience in times of crisis. The pandemic has shown that adequate surveillance, strict hygiene practices, and robust health regulations are non-negotiable if such industries are to be maintained. As Zisiqiao looks to the future, its journey from a bustling snake farming hub to a quiet village seeking new paths to sustainability is a microcosm of the global challenges and debates surrounding wildlife consumption and zoonotic diseases. The village's story is a poignant reminder of the intricate connections between local economies, cultural practices, and global health dynamics. The future of Zisiqiao, like that of many other communities worldwide, will be shaped by how effectively it can navigate these complex and often competing forces. The shift towards sustainable agriculture and ecotourism represents a hopeful chapter in the village's story, suggesting that with innovation and support, communities can reinvent themselves and thrive in a changing world. The resilience and transformation of Zisiqiao offer hope and guidance for similar communities across the globe, illuminating the path from crisis to recovery and sustainability. The village's ongoing journey is a testament to human adaptability and the enduring quest for harmony with nature.